I died twice before they learned my name. The first time was in the ambulance, heart stopping at 11:34 p.m., somewhere between 5th and Main. The second was in the ER bay when they cracked my chest and shocked me back to a life I didn't want to return to. The paramedic told me later I'd whispered, "Let me go," both times, but Dr. Logan didn't listen. His refusal to let me disappear saved me, or maybe it just gave me a reason to save myself. As they wheeled me through the fluorescent-lit corridors of St. Catherine's emergency room, the antiseptic scent invaded my senses, sharp and stinging. I lay on the gurney, the bright lights glaring down at me, each pulse of my heart echoing in my ears. I was not just a victim. All the bruises painted on my ribs and arms spoke volumes about a life lived in shadows. I just tripped down the stairs. I had told them, voice trembling, my words a flimsy shield against the ugly truth that hurt like hell. The medical staff swarmed around me, each professional examining me with a guarded concern that felt almost foreign. A nurse pulled back the sheet, and I flinched at the sight of the purple and blue welts that bloomed across my skin like dark flowers. Each brush of their hands against my wounds reminded me of David's cold grip, not from care, but from ownership that had stolen my voice, my strength. My heart raced, each beat punctuating the fear that coiled tightly around my chest. "Can you tell me your name?" Dr. Logan's voice broke through the confusion, steady yet compassionate, pulling me back into reality. But speaking felt like trying to draw breath in the middle of a storm. The truth was a burden that weighed heavily inside me. I struggled against the tightness in my throat, which felt suffocating. My mind raced, recalling the familiar dance of lies I had performed so many times before. What would he think if he learned the truth? "Do you feel safe at home?" he pressed, searching my eyes for answers. Instinctively, I shook my head. Waves of panic crashed against my resolve as I felt the urge to curl up in a ball, to shrink away and disappear. How many times had I thought I could find safety behind walls that had long turned into traps? I had tried to carve out an existence where I could breathe, yet their eyes, filled with concern, were mirrors reflecting my reality I had fought to conceal. I shot a glance toward the door, my breath hitching when I heard a voice I wished to silence. "I just want to take her home." David's smooth words dripped with charm as he railed against the staff waiting outside. Each syllable sent chills racing down my spine. My heart fell into the pit of my stomach, dread pooling there. I felt like prey, and he was the predator lurking just out of sight. Dr. Logan's demeanor shifted instantly, his protective instincts kicking in with a fierceness I hadn't expected. "You need to leave," he commanded, his voice steady and authoritative, drawing a line between safety and danger. I watched in awe as David's scowl darkened his features, but he retreated, and for the first time I felt a fragile sense of empowerment. Turning back to me, Dr. Logan softened under the weight of my eyes. "It's time to talk," he said gently, each word wrapping around me like a warm blanket. I could almost breathe without the weight of despair pressing against my chest. "You don't have to go back," he added, the promise of safety hovering between us like a beacon in the fog of my confusion. In that moment, something inside of me shimmered with the slightest flicker of hope. My defenses had been eroded, but could I allow this man to see me, to truly see me, the woman behind the bruises, the mother desperate to shield her unborn child from a world of hurt? As panic surged once more, Dr. Logan's eyes found mine, and I wondered what might happen if I let someone in. His words resonated in my chest. Help is available. For so long, I had weathered storms alone. But what if I could reach out? What if I could unchain myself from the fear that had held me captive? An inch of courage expanded, pulsing through me, a realization that maybe being seen didn't have to be terrifying. Clutching the blanket, I allowed myself to soften just a fraction. The weight of my burdens felt lighter under his steady gaze. It was like a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. I could hold on. I didn't have to tread water forever. Maybe, just maybe, I could accept help and start to forge a way out of this darkness. The room settled into a fragile silence as Dr. Logan pulled up a chair beside my gurney. The bright fluorescent lights overhead buzzed, casting harsh shadows on the walls and our faces. "Let's take a closer look at your injuries," he said, his tone professional yet laced with concern. My heart raced. The rhythmic beeping of the cardiac monitor accompanied my swirling thoughts as he leaned closer. He gently lifted the edge of my hospital gown, exposing the bruises blooming across my ribs. "These injuries tell a story," he remarked, his fingers carefully examining each contusion. "Can you tell me how this happened?" I tensed at his question, battling the familiar knot of panic in my stomach. This was a question I dreaded. The answer was my truth, dark and tangled. I hesitated. I fell, I mumbled, the words catching in my throat like thorns. I had rehearsed this lie countless times, the easy escape from a reality too painful to face. But wouldn't he see through it? Dr. Logan's brow furrowed slightly, a mix of skepticism and sympathy in his gaze. "You have old injuries here, bruises in different stages of healing," he pressed, his voice softer now. "You're not alone, and you don't have to lie to me." The walls I had built up, brick by brick, began to tremble. I didn't want to be vulnerable, to admit that the truth hurt more than the pain all over my body. "It's complicated," I finally admitted, my voice barely a whisper. The words felt like a weight lifting, but fear rushed in to fill the void. As if on cue, a chill swept through the room when I heard the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps approaching. My heart sank. What the hell is going on? The menacing voice of David resounded through the threshold. My breath caught in my throat as the door swung open, revealing the angry glare that still haunted my nightmares. "Excuse me, sir," a nurse interjected, stepping between him and me. "You can't be here right now." David's eyes darkened as he ignored her warning, scanning the room until they locked onto me. "Where is she? I need to talk to my wife." His voice dripped with an entitlement that made my chest tighten. I felt small and defenseless. "Doctor." Logan stepped in front of me, a protective barrier. "I need you to leave," he said, his tone firm. "This is a medical facility, and I will call security if you don't." I could see the tension in his body, the fierce determination etched on his face to shield me from the storm that was David. "But she's my wife," David barked, his frustration rising. "I have rights. You can't keep her from me." Fear gnawed at me, threatening to pull me back into the depths of despair. "Dr. Logan, please," I pleaded, heart racing. "He can't know I'm here. You have to get him out." "Stay back," Dr. Logan commanded, voice unwavering, even as anger simmered in the air between them. The standoff felt surreal, like the world had slowed down and every heartbeat echoed an urgent truth. I was no longer invisible. David's eyes filled with rage as he took a step closer, the threat of violence crackling in the air. "You don't know what you're getting into," he hissed, his voice low but full of menace. Dr. Logan's resolve didn't waver. "I won't let you intimidate her," he stated calmly, his presence both soothing and fierce. In the ensuing silence that hung like a tightrope, I felt a flicker of power igniting within me. This was the moment I had longed for, a chance to break free from the chains that had bound me for so long. "I can't go back there," I uttered, fear transforming into determination. "Doctor." Logan turned back to me, and in his eyes, I saw a promise of safety, a promise of hope. "You don't have to," he affirmed, his voice steady, anchoring me to the reality that I could learn to trust again. As David's anger simmered, I realized for the first time that I had allies, that there were people who would fight for my right to feel safe. I couldn't go back. I wouldn't go back. With Dr. Logan beside me, I could finally dare to envision a life free from fear, a life where I could start to heal. The uneasy silence stretched between us like a taut wire, the tension thickening as I braced myself for David's next move. He glared at Dr. Logan, his expression darkening. "You think you can protect her?" he sneered, a twisted smirk creeping onto his face. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Dr. Logan's jaw clenched, but he maintained his composure. "I don't need to know you," he replied coolly. "What I know is that she needs protection, and you're not offering that." He stepped forward, grounding himself in front of me, a physical barrier between danger and safety. "Get out of my way," David hissed, his voice low and threatening. The air around us pulsed with the heaviness of the confrontation, and I could feel sweat forming on my brow. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything to escape the reality I was trapped in. But a flicker of courage held me in place. "Stop, please," I interrupted, my voice trembling yet resolute. "You need to leave, David." The last word was hard to get out, a painful reminder of the bond that had once felt unbreakable. But now it felt like a noose around my neck. I could see the surprise flicker across David's face. He wasn't used to hearing me speak with authority. He clenched his fists at his sides, his anger simmering just below the surface. "You're making a mistake, Sarah. You don't know what you're throwing away." I took a deep breath, the moment stretching painfully long as I searched for the right words. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing myself. You don't get to decide for me anymore." The strength in my voice surprised even me, but this was not just about my survival. It was about reclaiming my life. The tension escalated, and I could see David grappling with the realization that he was losing control. "This is all just a game," he spat. "You'll see. You always come back." "No," I shot back, feeling the tremors of fear crackling at the edges of my resolve. "Not this time. I refuse to be your prisoner any longer. I'm done." Dr. Logan's gaze was steady, urging me to hold my ground. "You need to leave now or I will call security," he reiterated, his voice firm as if he were drawing a line that couldn't be crossed. The air crackled with tension as David's expression twisted between disbelief and rage. With a final glare, he stepped back, his shoulders tense with fury. "You'll regret this, Sarah," he warned, his voice a low growl. "You'll pay for this defiance." I watched him retreat, a mix of relief and fear washing over me. As the door swung closed behind him, I felt the weight of 100 emotions collide within me. Relief that he was gone, yet a terror that his words would echo long after he left. Dr. Logan turned to me, his expression softening. "Are you okay?" I nodded, though my heart still raced. "I will be," I said, focusing on the slivers of light peeking through the cracks of darkness. The shadows that had loomed over me for too long seemed to be dissipating, just a little bit. "Let's talk about what comes next," he said, his tone gentle but resolute. He guided me through a series of options, laying out a safety plan that felt foreign, even surreal. "We can arrange for a safe room within the hospital and resources to help you find long-term safety." "I don't want to keep hiding," I blurted out, the weight of my fear bubbling to the surface. "I want to be free. Freedom is what we're aiming for," he reassured me. "But it's a process. You took a huge step today. The hardest part is often the beginning." The words hung in the air, their truth resonating within me. I could feel hope flickering in spaces I thought had long been extinguished. "Tell me about the baby," he encouraged softly, shifting the focus. "You said you were pregnant, right?" The mention of my child swung the conversation to a new level of reality. I placed my hand on my abdomen, the subtle swell reminding me there was something more at stake. I don't want my baby to grow up in a world full of fear, I admitted, each word dripping with vulnerable honesty. Dr. Logan's expression lightened, empathy washing over his features. You're looking out for them, and that's powerful. You're already a protective mother. I faltered, feeling a warmth blossom in my chest. I want to be strong for them. I want to show my child that there's more to life than hiding. The conversation shifted as Dr. Logan asked me questions about my health, the baby's health, natural precautions to take, everything that sounded so mundane yet felt monumental given my situation. I found myself sharing bits of my past, pieces of laughter and love, long forgotten amid the suffocating weight of my reality. As he listened, I began to see a future unfolding, not just for me, but for my child, a future where my decisions mattered, where I could forge my path step by step out of the shadows. When the discussion came to a close, Dr. Logan handed me a small card with his contact number. If you need anything, support, a listening ear, don't hesitate to reach out. You have people willing to help you now. I held the card tightly, the gesture feeling monumental. Thank you, I whispered, tears filling my eyes. For the first time in so long, I felt seen. And as I took a breath, feeling the warmth of hope growing brighter, I realized I had already begun to reclaim my life. I was ready to fight for my future, not just for me, but for the little one who would soon enter the world. The days turned into nights and back again, each one blurring together as the hospital room provided a strange kind of sanctuary. I found comfort in the routine, nurses checking vitals, the occasional visit from Dr. Logan, and the constant rhythm of the machines monitoring my heart and the life within me. Each passing hour filled me with an unexpected sense of safety, a protective cocoon that felt foreign, yet slowly comforting. I began to open up about my life, piece by piece, like revealing layers of an onion, sometimes crying as I peeled back the surface. I used to love painting, I shared with Dr. Logan during one of our longer conversations. Before I met David, I would lose myself in colors and canvases. It felt like freedom. The last word felt like a sigh escaping my lips, a mournful yet hopeful sound. Why don't you paint anymore? He asked, genuinely curious, and for the first time I felt like my passions were being valued. David didn't approve, I admitted, swallowing hard. He said it was a waste of time, that I should focus on being a good wife. I could hear the defeat in my own voice echoing through the room. That sounds suffocating, he replied, his brows knitting together. Art can be a powerful outlet, a way to express yourself. Suddenly unburdened, I allowed vulnerability to share its weight on my shoulders. It is. I miss it. Then let's find a way to bring it back into your life, he suggested with a soft smile, his eyes brightening with inspiration. What if you painted for your child? It could be a way to share your love, to show them the world you dreamed of. The idea hung in the air, slowly sinking in. Do you really think I could? His confidence in me felt like a lifeline. Absolutely. Let's set up some basic supplies for you. After that conversation, Dr. Logan made a plan to arrange art supplies, and I felt the stirrings of excitement begin to seep into my bones. For the first time in forever, I could envision a reality where I was more than just surviving. I could create. The following days were filled not only with medical check-ins, but also with laughter, shared stories, and encouragement as I experimented with the brushes and paints. The canvas became my sanctuary, a place to unleash everything I hadn't been able to express. Dr. Logan would occasionally stop by to check on my progress, often staying a little longer than necessary to watch as I painted the expansive skies of a sunset or the fragile petals of a flower. "Just like that," he would say, nodding appreciatively. "You're capturing emotion." Those words fueled a fire within me, giving life to colors I hadn't seen in far too long. The pieces I painted began to tell stories about my dreams for my child, dreams filled with hope, bravery, and endless possibilities. One afternoon, after a particularly challenging session, I hesitated to clean my brushes. "It feels like they're more than just colors now," I murmured, looking down at the vibrant streaks that sprawled across the canvas. "They feel like a part of me." Dr. Logan tilted his head, his expression thoughtful. "That's because they are. Every stroke is a piece of your story, a reminder of your strength." My heart swelled with emotion, feeling grateful for the encouragement I never expected but desperately needed. But beneath the surface of my burgeoning creativity, fear whispered threats that were hard to ignore. I was still very much aware that David hadn't left my life entirely. The thought of him lurking, waiting, threatened to overshadow the brightness that was filtering back into my world. On my 5th day in the hospital, I received word from a social worker assigned to my case, Lisa Chen. She entered my room with a friendly smile and a warm demeanor that instantly made me feel at ease. "Hi, Sarah. I've been following your case and I wanted to see how you're doing." During her visit, I discovered the resources available to me, far beyond the hospital walls. "We have shelters, community programs, and legal options you can explore," she explained, handing me a brochure. Each word filled me with relief, yet still left a twinge of trepidation. "What if he finds me?" My voice trembled as I asked the question I had been holding so tightly. "Then we'll have a safety plan in place," Lisa assured me, her gaze steady. "You're not alone in this. It's a long road, but we will navigate it together." With Lisa's reassurance, I felt a new layer of empowerment begin to blossom. I could see the possibility of a new beginning on the horizon. Deep down, I clung to the hope that I could help others in similar situations, perhaps even use my experiences and my art to inspire healing. As I pulled myself deeper into painting, I was relentless in creating images of infinite potential for my child. An open field, wildflowers dancing in the wind, vibrant skies filled with swirling galaxies. "Every painting is a step forward," I told Dr. Logan one day as I finished another canvas. "It's healing in a way I never imagined." "I'm proud of you, Sarah. You're taking powerful steps," he said, and my heart soared with every ounce of sincerity in his voice. And just like that, under the supportive atmosphere of the hospital, my journey to redefine myself gained momentum. Each brushstroke became a rejection of the past and a reclamation of my identity. Yet, in the back of my mind, a storm brewed, a reminder that even as I fought for my future, I had to stay vigilant. The hold of fear lingered, but I was ready to face it. With Dr. Logan's unwavering support and Lisa's guidance, I knew I was beginning to transform my life. The darkness didn't feel so imposing anymore. I was determined to be the mother I longed to be for my child. A mother full of strength, love, and the promise of better things to come. Just when I felt the grasp of hope solidifying, reality came crashing down like a wave, cold and unforgiving. It was a gray morning when the news hit me like a dagger in the gut. I was busy framing the recent canvas I had painted, a vibrant landscape bursting with colors indicative of life and potential, when Lisa walked in, her expression grave. "I need to talk to you," she said, shutting the door quietly behind her. I felt my stomach tighten as I nodded, my heart racing. "Is it about David?" She took a seat at the small table in my room, the air humiliated by heaviness. "Yes, I'm afraid he's been making calls." Confusion swirled within me. What calls? Is he threatening you? No, but he's been asking about you. The hospital administration is receiving calls from him about your whereabouts. Fear crept into my chest again, wrapping its cold fingers around my heart. What do they want? They're trying to ascertain where you've gone. He's asserting his rights as your husband. It's concerning, and I need to make sure that we have a clear action plan in place. I felt nausea rising. What if he finds me? Let's focus on a safe plan. We'll ensure that you have security measures in place. She reached for the brochures she had brought earlier and pointed to several resources that could provide additional support. But even her reassurance felt like fragile glass beneath a hammer. I sat back, digesting the information. What did it mean for my future? Would this thin veneer of safety I had wrapped around myself be shattered? David can't hurt you anymore, Lisa said, her tone unyielding as if she could read the fears swirling in my mind. I'll work with security to ensure we have protective measures in place. And while this is a setback, you are not alone. Her words offered a sliver of comfort, yet uncertainty hollowed out my resolve. I've started painting again, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. It helps me feel free. That's essential, Lisa nodded, a proud smile breaking through her stern demeanor. Art can be a powerful form of healing. Let it empower you, not intimidate you. But how could I transform my anxiety into creativity now? How could I paint when my mind was consumed with fear? Oh, and one more thing, she added, checking her notes and looking back at me. We've also arranged for social workers to be on standby while you're in the hospital. They can help with legal matters regarding restraining orders if needed. The mention of a restraining order sank in, casting shadows over the flutter of hope I had been nurturing. I don't want him to have any more control over my life, I pledged, feeling the determination rise within me yet again. Days passed, punctuated not only by my recovery and creative endeavors, but by desperate anticipation of potential threats from David. I found solace in the repetitive act of painting, layering strokes that told the story of my healing, but the unease lurked like fog, refusing to lift. Then, late one evening, as I dwelled with brush in hand, the atmosphere shifted. A familiar face stepped through the door, Dr. Logan looking weary yet determined. "Hey," he said, a reassuring smile lightening the tension in his brow. "How are things?" "Better, but I talked to Lisa today. David's been trying to contact the hospital," I replied, my heart racing again. "I'm scared. What if he shows up?" "He won't. We have security measures in place, and I'll ensure they're extra vigilant," he promised. "But I want to ask you something." "What is it?" "Can I check on your health and ensure everything is going smoothly? I know you've been through a lot, but I want to make sure you're in the best shape possible." I nodded, appreciation filling me. "Absolutely. Whatever you need." As he began the exam, I felt nervousness fidgeting within me, the fear of vulnerability settling in alongside the familiar presence of safety he provided. "Your vitals look good," he said, offering a smile that lifted some weight off my chest. "And when was the last time you had an ultrasound?" "Not since I got here," I confessed, my voice barely audible. "Let's get that scheduled. It's important that we monitor the baby's growth, especially given your circumstances," he said, his demeanor turning serious. Outside, it was a restless night, the stars flickering dimly against the vast canvas of the heavens. Within me, worry fought against hope as I clung to the possibility of safety burgeoning over my fears. As the hours wore on, nighttime blended into morning, punctuated by the fluorescent lights that hummed overhead. I was startled awake as there was a sudden knock on the door. My heart leapt into my throat, an instinctive reaction rooted in terror. "Sarah, it's me, Dr. Logan," came the familiar voice from the other side. "May I come in?" With shaky hands, I opened the door, and when I saw his serious expression, The fog of dread thickened. "What's happened?" I asked, bracing myself for the worst. "There's been a situation," he said, stepping in and closing the door behind him. There was urgency in his eyes and dread unfurled within me. "David was spotted nearby asking security questions related to your case. They didn't share anything with him, but..." "But what?" His hands clasped together at his sides, a signal of control. "I need you to trust that you are safe here, but we will need to escalate security measures." Panic surged like a tidal wave. "What does that mean?" "It means we will have additional personnel monitoring entrances and exits. I'll personally supervise your security until we're sure David isn't a threat," he assured me. "Will it get worse?" "It could," he admitted, his voice resolute. "But together, we'll navigate this. You've been so strong, and I see the progress you've made." The weight of his words sank into me, a reminder that I was not fighting this battle alone. "I hate feeling like a prisoner," I whispered, vulnerability mixing with frustration. "I understand. We'll have a plan in place so you can retain a sense of normalcy," he promised as he stepped closer. "This battle isn't just about survival. It's about empowerment and healing. You're reclaiming your life, and that can be so powerful." His eyes held mine, filled with sincerity that anchored the storm of uncertainties swirling within me. "No one can take that away from you." A new resolve began to bloom in my chest. I would not allow fear to paint my future any longer. Together, we would forge a safety net, one strong enough to catch me, to cradle my hopes, and to whisper of a life beyond the shadows. The days that followed felt like a swirling storm, a constant uncertainty hanging in the air. Dr. Logan kept his word, bringing in additional security to ensure every entrance and exit remained guarded. I was thankful for his determination, and yet twinges of frustration emerged within me. I just wanted to feel free again, to embrace the world outside these walls without the looming darkness of fear. Each morning, I'd wake to the steady beeping of the machines that had become my mechanical companions, their sounds both reassuring and tethering me to the reality of my situation. The hospital staff continued their routines around me, but I felt the vigilance in the air, a bittersweet reminder that danger still lingered. Then came the morning when hope collided with despair. I sat cross-legged on the floor of my hospital room, surrounded by my canvases and paints, lost in a world of swirling colors. I was immersed in a sunrise painted with warm hues of orange and yellow, breathing life into the silhouette of a bird taking flight. Each brushstroke liberated the weight I had been carrying, but as the vision of freedom materialized, so did panic. "Is there anything else I can get for you, Sarah?" asked a nurse, breaking my concentration. I barely glanced up. "Just some more blue, please." My voice was breathy, the creative flow chasing away my fears for a brief moment. As the nurse gathered the supplies, she paused, looking at me with an expression that mixed concern and compassion. "You're doing really well, you know. It's beautiful what you're creating." "Thank you," I replied, forcing a smile. But the burden of anxiety remained, lurking warily in the back of my mind, a reminder of the peril I faced. Suddenly, the door swung open, and Dr. Logan stepped in, his presence a wave of calm in the midst of my chaotic thoughts. "Hey, how's the masterpiece coming along?" His voice was warm and inviting, but I couldn't shake the sense that something was off. "It's coming together," I replied, cautiously, my eyes flicking up to meet his. "But I feel like I'm losing my grip on this hope." "Is it foolish?" "Not at all," he assured me, stepping closer. "It's natural to feel that way, especially in your circumstances. But remember, every stroke on that canvas represents your strength, resilience, and your dreams for the future." Before I could respond, the hospital alarm system blared through the hallways, a loud and jarring noise that sent my heart racing. "Code Blue, Room 5, crackled over the PA system, urgency laced within every syllable. Dr. Logan's expression shifted instantly, professionalism taking over as he spun toward the door. "I need to go. Stay here. I'll be right back," he instructed, and I watched him rush out, a part of me wanting to follow him. Alone, I felt the emptiness close in, the sound of the alarm reverberating in my ears like a warning of an impending storm. Was I truly safe here? Or was this fragile cocoon merely a false sense of security? Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as I sat in silence, anxiety wrapping its tendrils around me tighter. I tried to focus on my painting, but each stroke felt heavy with doubt and fear, drowning my creative spirit. Finally, Dr. Logan returned, a sense of weariness masking his features. Bit of a situation down the hall, patient emergency. But I'm here now. I want to check in on you. His attention felt like a lifeline. "What happened?" I asked, unable to keep the concern from my voice. "Just a routine complication, nothing life-threatening." He placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder, grounding me in the moment. "How are you feeling?" "I don't know. Everything just feels fragile. What if he finds me? What if I'm not safe despite all the precautions?" My voice trembled, doubt creeping back into my mind. "Every step we take is a step towards safety, Sarah. You've made it this far and you're stronger than you realize," he encouraged, his expression earnest. "I need you to trust this process." I took a breath, the weight of his words sinking in. "I'm trying," I admitted, "but it doesn't erase the fear. That fear can be harnessed, but it's okay to be afraid. It doesn't mean you lack strength, it means you're human." He stepped back, allowing me to see the sincerity in his eyes. Somehow it made the storm within me feel a little less daunting. "Did you talk to Lisa about the restraining order?" I asked, a touch of desperation creeping into my voice. "Yes, we're filing the paperwork. It'll take some time, but it's a necessary step," he affirmed, his tone unwavering. "Do you really think it will protect me?" The question hung in the air like a fragile promise. It's one part of a larger plan. It's not foolproof, but it's critical. You have a support network here and they'll do everything to keep you safe. A part of me was still skeptical. Will it truly work? What if David keeps coming? What if he doesn't care? The objective is to break the cycle of control he has over you, Dr. Logan said, his fingers lightly tapping the table as if punctuating his words. We won't allow his power to loom over your life any longer. As I listened, a flicker of determination ignited within me. I wanted to feel empowered again, to rise up and reclaim my life. Okay, I will fight for my freedom. Good. Hold on to that, he encouraged with a nod. It's strong and will carry you through. The conversation shifted into practicalities, planning next steps while the urgency of the moment pulled us away from the emotional currents. But even in the routine, the conversation felt transformative, like a bridge opening toward empowerment. After we discussed the next safety measures in place, I could feel the swirling storm outside my mind begin to calm. I settled back into my painting, the strokes taking on new purpose, guided by a sense of empowerment. And yet, just as I believed I was finding my footing, the unsettling reminder of David returned to my thoughts. Was he still there? Was this fight really over? Hours later, as the sun began to set, a shadow crossed my door. The guards had been instructed to escort me for an ultrasound. The thought poured feelings of apprehension and trepidation into my core. Doctor. Logan met me at the door as I prepared to leave my room, the weight of his presence easing some of my unrest. "Ready?" he asked, and I nodded, steeling myself for whatever lay ahead. "Yes," I whispered, embracing the fleeting sense of confidence. "Remember," he said as we made our way down the sterile corridor, "you're not just reclaiming your safety, you're reclaiming your future piece by piece. With him by my side, I took a deep breath, ready to navigate the unknown, ready to step into my future, one brushstroke at a time. The ultrasound room was dimly lit, with soft, sterile, whirring sounds filling the air. A large machine sat in the corner, its screen glowing ominously like a portal to unrevealed dimensions. I felt my heart start to race as I sat on the examination table, clad in a thin hospital gown that felt all too revealing, a stark contrast to the layers of protection I had been trying to build around myself. Dr. Logan entered, his demeanor steadying my racing thoughts. "Let's take a look and see how your baby is doing," he said, moving with purposeful efficiency, his professionalism calming the chaos within me. "Okay," I replied, a nervous smile finding its way to my lips. It felt generative, and I reminded myself that this ultrasound was a reminder of hope, the living proof of the future I was fighting to reclaim. "Just relax," he instructed, placing a reassuring hand on my arm as he prepared the machine. "This is a routine exam, and I'll walk you through everything happening." With a click, he turned on the machine and the screen flickered to life, displaying shadows that swirled into familiar shapes. I squirmed, caught between awe and anxiety, the weight of my circumstances tugging at my heart. The cool gel made contact with my abdomen, causing me to flinch, but I focused on the projected image. A moment later, Dr. Logan angled the ultrasound wand and there it was, a small, fluttering heartbeat, rapidly pulsing, a rhythm of life that filled my chest with warmth. I gasped, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "Is that—" "Yes, that's your baby's heartbeat," he said, a bright smile lighting his face. "Everything looks good so far." I couldn't take my eyes off the screen, marveling at the miracle of life that would soon become my anchor. Suddenly, everything else, the fear, the shadows, and the memories of David, felt insignificant. I was in the presence of something pure, something hopeful. "We'll need to keep monitoring things, but for now, this is very encouraging," Dr. Logan continued, all the while focused on the screen and the information it provided. I felt as if I were being granted a glimpse into my future, one that shimmered with possibilities instead of fears. As Dr. Logan continued his assessment, I found myself reflecting on the lessons I'd learned throughout this ordeal. Each brushstroke on my canvas, each conversation I had with him and Lisa had led me to this moment, a moment of potential, anchored by the quiet hum of the monitor and my child's steady heartbeat. "There," he said gently, turning the machine off. "You're doing remarkably well, Sarah. This baby, a combination of you and everything you dream of, reminds us that there is so much to fight for." "Thank you," I whispered, feeling gratitude swell inside me. He had given me more than just a medical checkup. He had given me hope, a reminder of the light in my life that I needed to protect fiercely. Once I was dressed and ready to leave, the unsettling reality of my situation came rushing back at me. The reminder that David was still out there, looming in shadows and waking dreams. I took a moment to ground myself, reminding myself of the steps I was taking to pave a safer path forward. "Are you okay?" Dr. Logan asked, concern flickering across his features when he saw my expression shift. "Yeah, I can't help but think about the future," I admitted quietly, pain creeping back into my heart. "What if he finds us? We have protocols in place," he reassured me, his voice unwavering. "Providing a safe environment is our priority. We'll make sure you have the support you need and that the proper precautions are taken." Still, uncertainty twisted in my gut as I glanced out the window, looking at the cloudy sky. "I want to believe that's enough," I murmured. He paused, assessing my expression and the storm brewing beneath the surface of my facade. "It will be enough," he asserted gently. "You're already taking the step towards claiming your safety. A restraining order will be filed, and we can work on additional security details. With each precaution, You will carve out a life free from fear." But as we re-entered the hallway, my attention was pulled away from our conversation by a sudden commotion. A frantic nurse rushed past us, her expressions etched with urgency. Moments later, we heard raised voices echoing at the far end of the corridor. "What's happening?" I asked, instinctively tensing as anxiety gripped me once more. "Stay behind me," Dr. Logan instructed, stepping in front of me in a protective maneuver. I could feel my heart in my throat as he edged closer to the source of the commotion, his demeanor shifting to that of a protector. A few moments later, security personnel rushed past, heading toward a cluster of worried families. My breath quickened, anxiety bubbling within. "Stay calm," Dr. Logan said, turning slightly to face me with intent seriousness in his gaze. "Remember that we're prepared." In that moment, enveloped in Dr. Logan's unwavering presence, I felt a shred of reassurance fighting against my fear. He stood between me and whatever chaos loomed beyond, a steadfast wall against the uncertainty that had become my existence. Eventually, the personnel moved efficiently, handling whatever emergency had arisen. The frazzled nurse returned to check on me, giving a gentle nod, ensuring I was still okay. It seemed routine, yet I sensed the underlying tension as whispers cascaded through the hall. Dr. Logan lowered his voice. "It's possibly a patient-related incident, but I want you to know that the hospital staff are trained to manage emergencies. Whatever happens, you're safe here with us." Just as I began to settle into the idea of safety, an all too familiar figure loomed in the periphery of my mind. The memory of David and the sinister aura he carried. My heart raced anew as shadows from my past threatened to claw at my present. I needed to hold on to my strength. With my heartbeat echoing loud and steady in my ears, I glared ahead, brushing aside the fear that sought to take root in my heart. I was preparing to fight, not just for myself but for my child and the life that lay ahead. As the noise settled and calm began to envelop the corridor, I turned to Dr. Logan. "Let's execute that restraining order ASAP," I said, determination carving my words. A proud smile emerged on his face, mixing warmth with fierce resolve. "That's the spirit, Sarah. Together, every step counts. And together we would confront whatever darkness lingered beyond the hospital walls, weighty shadows that wouldn't define my journey. We would step forward into the light where hope thrived and I reclaimed my life, one heartbeat at a time." 3 years had passed since that fateful night when I first entered the hospital, trembling with fear and uncertainty. Now, standing in my cozy studio, the sunlight poured through the window, illuminating the vibrant life outside. Children played in the park below, laughter ringing like a sweet melody, and my heart swelled with joy as I watched my own child ride a bike, their determination glowing like a beacon. "Mom, look, I can do it," they called, that infectious enthusiasm igniting my pride. I stepped outside, feeling my fears begin to dissipate with each moment spent together. Reflecting on the journey, I recalled the countless trials I faced, the restraining order against David, the therapy sessions, and the long process of healing. Each step had been essential, crafting a newfound sense of safety and resilience. With the support of Dr. Logan and Lisa, I had secured not just a legal barrier, but also a path to empowerment. I had also started volunteering at a local shelter, using my experiences to connect with other survivors. "You are not defined by your past," I would tell them, looking into their eyes and seeing reflections of my former self. "You are defined by your choices moving forward." That day, as I stood before a room full of weary faces, I felt the energy shift. "Healing doesn't happen overnight," I added, "but every small victory is worth celebrating. We are in this together." After the session, I pulled Dr. Logan aside. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself, I said earnestly, my gratitude shining in my eyes. It's your courage that has inspired change, he replied, a warm smile spreading across his face. Your fight is lighting the way for others. We shared a moment of understanding, a connection forged in the fires of adversity. I had transformed my pain into purpose and turned my fears into hope. Let's keep moving forward, I said with renewed resolve. Together, we'll create a community of strength and support. As I walked back toward the window, sunshine pouring in, I felt ready to embrace life anew. The journey wasn't over, but I had chosen to step forward, leaving behind the shadows of yesterday. With every heartbeat echoing in my chest, I was ready to create a future rich with possibilities, love, and healing. A world not just for myself, but for my child as well. Together we would thrive, and the story we wrote would be rich with resilience and hope.